People are struggling and looking for answers. God has given you the solution and has called you to leadership. Now it's time to grow and prepare while learning how to use your gifts. Jamal is an experienced leader that uses his gifts to lead change. Now he's sharing what he's learned with you so you can fulfill your leadership assignment. Prepare to be ignited, to lead like a champion. Everybody, hello, welcome to this week's edition of Igniting Champion Leaders Live. I am your host, Jamal Maxsam, CEO of Lead Like a Champion, igniter of champion leaders. My assignment is to ignite leaders in their leadership as well as their ability to operate in their gifting so they can fulfill their leadership assignment. So I wanted to say hello to everybody watching on the various platforms and everyone listening in the VIP on Clubhouse. And for those of you who are watching, remember to comment, like, share, and save this video so that you can not only be a blessing to others as they are getting this content, but also so you can refer back to it and refer back to the strategy that I'm going to share tonight. So this video podcast is sponsored by Lead Like a Champion, and enrollment in the Champion University is now available so that you can get mentorship in leadership and operating in the prophetic, as well as in how to operate in the supernatural in your assigned area of influence. All right, so tonight we're talking about your increased influence, and your name has been called. I truly believe we are in a time and in a season where our names have been called, and this increased influence is being expedited even more. Earlier in the year, I talked about increased influence and increase of favor as we operate in this influence and increasing our stature. So when I refer to stature, I'm referring to a level of influence and a level of notoriety, as well as a level of impact that we have. I believe from January of this year all the way up to now, if you've been tracking, you will have observed and noticed that you're increasing in stature, that more people know you, that more people are following you, more people are engaging with you as a leader and following and really allowing you to mentor them, to bring solution to the challenges they are facing. And so I believe that there's an acceleration of that. I firmly believe that people who may have forgotten about you before are now remembering your name. I believe that people are talking about you behind your back in a good way. And too often as leaders, we deal with the criticism, we deal with the critics, we deal with accusation, we deal with challenges, and then we deal with opposition. Now, opposition is different from a challenge. A challenge is something that is normally in the way of your leadership success. Opposition is when someone or something directly opposes you to try to keep you from fulfilling your leadership assignment. And so I believe we face all of those things, but I also believe that people are talking about us favorably. And so there are people who are giving recommendations, speaking highly of us, and really pointing us out as the one to bring the solution to the problem that they have. And so one of the things we want to recognize is because we're dealing with that, I'm telling you that your name has been called. It's like when we were in school and the teacher called your name or the principal called your name. Now your name has been called not because you've been doing something wrong, but because you've been doing something right, because you're in the right position at the right time and you have the unique skill set and gifting to solve the situation that people need. And so here's the thing. Just think about if you've ever had a time when you pursued a leadership position but didn't get it. You know, people may have said you didn't have enough experience. I remember when I was applying for leadership positions within the school and I was a team leader at the time. And I remember applying, and people would say, "Oh, you don't have enough experience." And in my mind, I'm thinking, how can I get the experience if you don't give me the experience? And I had to be very creative to find ways to get experience, even though no one would give it to me. But I found that when I was looked over in certain situations, it was actually a setup for me to have greater influence. I was looked over for a dean position because they felt like I didn't have enough experience at the time. But as I began to follow the plan of God, I ended up getting experience in other ways and creatively getting experience, and then stepping right into a principal position as I follow what God was telling me to do. And so I believe some people may have been looked over, didn't get a position, or people may have not counted your leadership or discounted you as a leader, or thought you weren't qualified as a leader, or maybe even thought you didn't know what you were talking about. I believe that those things are setups for you, and were a setup for you for this moment. Because one of the things we think about is that we can't be distracted. We can't be distracted by the critics or the criticism that may come, where everybody is Twitter brave. Everybody wants to do a reaction to your leadership. Everybody wants to analyze your leadership. Everybody wants to judge your leadership. Because here's the thing, leadership is about influencing people. And you hear me say that all the time. It's influencing people to take action. Leadership also is judged by those same people, and they might not necessarily understand the scope of leadership or the scope of your leadership. So you have to, when you take people's feedback, you have to take it with, I would say, a grain of salt, as they say, because recognizing people would judge leadership based upon the leadership they have experienced or desire to experience. If they were under a bad leader or a soft serve leader, a dictator style of leader, then they're going to judge your leadership based upon the negative experience they had or the coddling that they had. And then they're going to judge you based upon that experience on how they think they should have been led. If they had things that they desire should have happened in the past, they would judge your leadership based on those unfulfilled or unmet expectations. So you have to be very careful in terms of letting people define you. While feedback is great, but you can't let that feedback define you. You can let it refine you, but not define you, because your leadership style is going to, and leadership approach is going to be unique to your strengths, your gifting, and your assignment. Because how one person led might not be how you lead, because your assignment is different from them. Every leader has a unique leadership assignment that's unique to them and unique based upon what needs to happen. And so you can't get distracted by that, because as I was saying earlier, when you are leading change, you're going to have to take some risks. You're going to have to face some challenges. You're going to have to overcome opposition. It's just a part of leading, and it's a part of leading change and bringing transformation. And so as you are going through all of that, you have to be prepared to seize the moment when your name is called. You can't get into a funk like, these folks don't appreciate me. You can't get into a funk thinking that they don't appreciate your leadership. You can't get into a funk wondering why you accepted the position in the first place, or wondering, should I even stay here? Do I need to go somewhere else where I'm celebrated and not tolerated? All of those kind of things may come to you as a leader. You may think, oh man, especially those of us who lead from our faith, we'll find that scripture very quick where it says a prophet is not without honor except in his hometown and among his own people or countrymen. And so we'll think other people will appreciate my leadership more. Here's the thing. You do not leave a place or a leadership assignment until you are directed by God. You cannot focus on the negative. You have to operate in faith, and you have to help shift and change the culture. Could it be that those critics are just resistant to change because they have been comfortable living and operating in dysfunction? People who are used to dysfunction get comfortable with dysfunction and then become uncomfortable when you start removing the dysfunction and make it functional. And so could that resistance be they don't want to let go of what seems familiar? But also, this is an opportunity for you to win their hearts and to win them. And those who want to consistently resist and not allow you to win, it's an opportunity for them to make a decision whether to be a part of the vision or not. See, a lot of times in this misinterpretation of what servant leadership is, people feel like that while leaders definitely don't dictate, not a good leader, but people feel like, oh, if I don't like the way you're leading, then I'ma just put up enough fuss to get you to leave, and then we'll find another leader that'll do what we want. You don't want to be controlled. You want to lead, and you want to have the right kind of exchange with the people you're leading. But you have to recognize, as you are engaging in exchanges with people that you're leading, in order to help them, to serve them, to help them reach their fullest potential, and for them to produce what they need to produce, you have to recognize throughout all of that, you cannot allow yourself to not be who you are, and you cannot allow yourself to be controlled by them. And so, because that's a thing that will cause people, leaders, to be in a funk. And if a leader's in a funk, you would not recognize the moment when your name has been called. Because some of the same people who may forget about you, or who may criticize you, or even may have treated you bad in the past, now may be placing a demand on your skill set, because they have seen your consistency and your skill set, but now you're needed. Even those who are like dealing with, if you're working in a place leading and have a leader in top or above you, for lack of a better term, sometimes they might not see your potential, or might not see the degree of the leadership that you can display because of their own perception. And they may discount you for a minute, but now is the time where they're not. You may have been seeking leadership and wondering, why haven't I been promoted? Why haven't I gotten this position? Or you may have been seeking influence. Why haven't I gained these followers? You may have been ignored before, but I'm just encouraging you in this podcast that the time of you being ignored is over, because your name is being called. Just like Joseph was ignored for a period of time, the story in the Bible, or the event documented in the Bible about Joseph, just like he was ignored for 2 years, but his name was called and he was remembered. But the key is, within those 2 years, one, Joseph was still leading where he was at. He was still using his gifts in that current position. So when his name was called, he was ready. He was ready mentally, and he was ready to seize that moment. Now, he had to get ready physically, because they had him shave and change clothes. And, of course, there's a deeper meaning we can extract from that, but I'm not going to right now. But he was ready, and he stepped into the moment when Pharaoh said, I've heard about you, that you could do this, this, and this. People have heard about you and are calling your name, and you have to have the right perspective and the right attitude to seize those moments, because your name has been called. Your name is being mentioned. There are more people talking about you positively than there are critics. There are more people who are speaking favorably than those who are bringing accusation. And you can't let the noise of the few distract you from the noise of the many. And so I want to give you a few keys on how you can seize the moment. Right now, this is your moment. And I don't want to say seize the moment when your name is called. I want to encourage you to recognize that your name has been called already, and now is your moment to seize it. This is your time to seize the moment. All right, so here are some 4 keys I'm going to give you really quick. Number 1, your perspective. You have to recognize the moment, and you have to step into it with confidence. You cannot step into a moment when you don't recognize that you're even in it. There's a song that was from a movie called 8 Mile, which was filmed in Detroit, that came out years ago. And Eminem said, you have to lose yourself in the moment, because you only get one shot. And so here's the thing. When you can discern and sense the moment, you have to grab and seize it with everything in you, because that divine moment may not come back around again. And so what if Joseph would have been angry with the cupbearer, Or what if he would have had a bad attitude when he approached Pharaoh because he had been in jail all that time, even though he was leading and serving in the jail and basically running the operations, he still technically was a prisoner. What if he got an attitude and said, I'm not helping you? But no, he recognized this is my moment and he seized it. And seizing that moment was the catalyst to his promotion. He became a leader over the entire nation, second only to Pharaoh. And then after that, he became internationally known because after 7 years of executing a strategy that he was able to deliver, then other nations had to come to him for help as well. So, number one is your perspective. You have to be able to recognize the moment you are in or the season you are in and step into it with confidence. And then number two is you have to let go. You have to let go of past challenges, the perceived failures, and your past successes so you can embrace the new and the unprecedented. I'll say that again. You have to let go of the past challenges, your perceived failures, the past successes, so you can embrace the new, which is the unprecedented. A lot of times people don't seize a moment because they've been so successful in the past, they think there's nothing more, or they think that if I just keep doing what I'm doing, then I will continue to experience success and greater success. Now I'm gonna tell you, you could keep doing what you're doing. You could keep things going as they are if you're experiencing success. And you might continue to experience success, but I would say this: there's more and there's greater. You want to always experience a greater success because science will tell us an object in motion stays in motion. And so if you get stagnant and you park where you are in terms of your current level of success, conditions will continue to change without you, and then you will eventually become irrelevant. So you have to make sure that you let go in order to embrace something new. Now, I'm not saying that you need to change something for the sake of changing it, because people say if it's not broke, don't fix it. But what I am saying is you need to always be looking for the greater, looking for the more, or looking to go to the next level of greatness. Because if you do not, you will eventually not be at any level of greatness at all. All right, so here's the third key. The third key is you must exercise your gifts and release the strategy that will bring the sought after solution. Now, you heard me say that Joseph was using his gift. He was in the story of Joseph, he was in jail, but he was using his leadership gift because he got promoted and was in charge of the entire operation. Then he was using his prophetic gift because he was interpreting dreams there. And it was the exercising of the gift that seemed unrelated that caused the cupbearer to remember how exact and accurate he was with exercising that gift, and that Pharaoh needed him because Pharaoh had the problem. Joseph didn't even know that the cupbearer was speaking to Pharaoh about him, or that Pharaoh had a problem that couldn't be solved. Even right now, some of us may not even know that there are people trying to brainstorm a solution to a problem, and our name is being mentioned as the one who can bring the solution, and we might not even be aware of it. But when Joseph was called, he was ready. And so I want to encourage you, those of you who are leading, regardless of where you're leading, do not neglect the gift of God that is in you. You want to make sure that you are using your gifts. Don't compartmentalize them. Don't think, well, I'm a believer and I'm leading in a school, or I have this business, or whatever the case may be, and thinking that your gift is only for a worship setting. Your leadership is an act of worship, and your gift is for that setting. Now, there's a wisdom and a strategy and a way to do it where you don't come across as religious and judgmental, but there is a way to hear God and to share what He is saying so that He can demonstrate His love through you to the people that you are serving through your leadership. That's what servant leadership is really all about. It's about doing what's best for people, but ensuring that they reach their fullest potential. And the best way for you to help someone else reach their fullest potential is for you to operate at yours. All right, so that was point number 3. Exercise your gifts to release the strategy that will bring the sought after solution. And then number 4, the fourth key that I'm going to share with you tonight is this. You have to be willing to take the step of faith, or some people may call it a risk. Because here's the thing. You can recognize you're in the moment. You can have the right perspective. You can have the right attitude. You can be not offended by anyone. You could be exercising your gift. You can get the strategy that's needed, but you have to exercise your faith to share that strategy and exercise your faith to implement the strategy as you are called upon. Because you're the one who received it, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be the one to help implement it. And so you want to make sure that you are exercising faith. As a leader, it is a faith walk because people are making decisions on whether to follow you anyway. By faith, you're trusting that you are connecting with people in a way that makes them want to decide to follow you. By faith, you're trusting that the decision you make is the best decision for the company or the place you're leading with the given information that you have. Because, of course, later on, you could always look and be like, well, I could have done it this way or that way. You have to trust that you're making the best decision and that your positive expectation is going to be a reality because of that decision. So I'm going to review these 4 keys again real quick for you just to hammer it home. Number 1 is your perspective. You have to recognize the moment and then step into a confidence. Number 2, you have to let go of past challenges, perceived failures, and past successes so you can embrace the new and the unprecedented. The third key was you have to exercise your gifts to release the strategy that will bring the sought after solution. And number 4, you have to be willing to take the risk or take the step of faith. All right, so for those of you who are watching me online, thank you so much for watching. I want to give you this opportunity to engage in mentorship. If you are ready to learn how to lead from your faith in every sphere that you may be assigned to, whether it's education or business or in a church, you want to connect with me. Get in this mentorship program where you can be activated and accelerated in your mentorship. You can be activated in the prophetic, which is simply the ability to hear God and to speak and release what He's saying. And then you also can be activated in the supernatural, because leadership is an art. It's a science based upon the research, and it is a spiritual gift. And so right now, people are even researching this, what they call spiritual leadership. And so you want to lead from God's presence and from His glory wherever you are planted, not just for His glory. And the best way to lead from His glory is to operate in the gifts. And so I want you to connect with me. Go to jamalmaxsam.org strategy session, and we can connect and get you in the mentorship program today. Now, also, as you heard me say, Champion University is enrolling. We are launching next month, January 2023, where it will involve mentorship, the mentorship program I just told you about, as well as different classes that you can take in order to enhance your leadership. There'll be classes specifically for business leadership, educational leadership, church leadership, also classes in the supernatural and in the prophetic that you can choose from as you walk out your leadership assignment. But every component has mentorship and community, because you need to be in a community of igniters, of people who are leading, igniting change, and who understand what it means to be a leader in these different areas, but doing it from the kingdom perspective. All right, so those of you who are watching, remember, comment, like, share, save this video. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was from this video, and then reach out to me as well for mentorship. And those of you who are in Clubhouse, hang out with me for a minute because hand raising is on. I want to hear your live interactive comments about anything that was shared. All right, so those of you on the video, I will see you guys soon. Remember, I want you to be successful and lead like a champion. Bye-bye.